In the 80s, I lived a drug-filled life. I was known as Captain Gas then, and between snorting cocaine and eating Quaaludes and drinking whiskey, I turned thousands of people onto nitrous oxide. The pictures I took then were carelessly made and poorly preserved, so for years I didn't think they were worth showing. But when you set out to tell the story of your life, the photographic considerations slip away, and the only thing that's important is the record of being there. So these are the pictures I made back then in all their sloppy glory. I've just reimagined them with the memories of that time as my guide. I moved into the Crotona Apartments around 1979. Built by the Theosophical Society in 1912, it was just up the road from the heart of Hollywood. I lived in a tiny little monk's cell set in the middle of a lush courtyard. The place was filled with druggies. There were 2 resident drug dealers. The women were beautiful and the scene was nonstop. It was a perfect place for me. I was doing pretty well that year. I was finally working on the big movies I'd always dreamed of. I was making good money and I was riding a fast and pretty bike. There were girls to play with and a swimming pool out back and a courtyard to party in. It was paradise, this Hotel California. Next door to me on one side lived Michael Turner, my good friend and a legendary DJ. He was also coke dealer to the Star. Michael had only one main customer, a famous rock and roller, but Mr. Famous was on a cash diet because his manager was trying to curtail his drug habits. Mr. Famous still had his credit cards, though, and his desires, and he had a man he set to work creating him some cash. Charlie's job was to go to high-end stereo stores and buy expensive stuff, then go sell it for cash, so when nighttime rolled around he could show up at Michael's door for some blow. The thing was, Michael had rules about business hours. He didn't want to be bothered after a hard day snorting and selling. So by the time Charlie showed up, usually around 3 in the morning, we'd be treated to a performance of a Cheech and Chong movie, but written by Quentin Tarantino. "You gotta let me in, man. Fuck you, come back tomorrow." "No, man, he'll kill me. I'm closed, man. How many times do I have to tell you? You gotta let me in. Fuck you, man. If I open the door, I'm fucking gonna kill you when I do." And all of this in desperation and anger till the courtyard rang. Michael would cock his gun so the sound echoed in the night, making me wonder just how much blow he'd done that day. All this would go on until finally, grudgingly, the door would be opened and Charlie would get another night's supplies and the courtyard would settle down again. Across the courtyard lived H, who worked at a record label during the day but partied day and night. H was all about having more. One time I took her for a cruise on my scooter, and when we hit the Hollywood freeway, she started rubbing my dick and yelling, "Faster, faster, go faster." The faster I went, the harder she rubbed, until we were splitting lanes way too fast to do anything if anything happened. She was seriously disappointed when I decided I didn't want to die that night and slowed it back down. I partied with H one night before flying up to San Francisco to work on a bad movie called Can't Stop the Music. We went at it all night long. At 7 in the morning, she drove me to the airport while we snorted up the last of the drugs. But there was a lot to finish. I got on the plane okay, but about halfway there I realized I'd gone blind in one eye. I freaked out. I imagined every terrible thing you can imagine, but I was afraid to tell anyone, and anyway, what was I going to say? "Stop the plane, I think I'm dying." So I kept my mouth shut. And when we landed, I got on the crew bus and went to the venue to scout. Afterward, we went back to the hotel and I fell into bed. When I woke up a few hours later, I had a monstrous headache, but I could see again. So what the fuck? I went and did the gig. And then I went back to LA looking to get high. Cousin George lived next door to me on the other side. He wasn't my cousin. He was my friend Bobby's cousin. Bobby had sent George to me to get him out of Chicago, where the police wanted to talk to him about something very serious. George was large and magnetic and filled with devil-may-care. Women loved him, and he was a great party companion. But after a while, you noticed that things didn't always add up. I didn't care so much about the math then, and George didn't fuck with me, at least until later when I discovered he'd stolen my identity. But you know how it is. Shit happens. George and Michael and H and I were in the prime of our party time years. And I'm not going to tell you it was wrong, even if it was, damaging many of my friends and leaving its mark on me. I know from experience now that the life of every day, of family and work, is more rewarding. I also know the deep pain that living the lush life causes. Not your pain. It's the pain you leave for others, the ones who loved you and mourn you when you die, or watch you sadly as you trade away your possibilities for your pleasure. Still, I find it hard to condemn my party time life or my party friends. Like all lifestyles, you pay the price, but then you get to take the ride. For a while, I loved that ride, and then it was time to quit.